Hello.
Net bricks on the screen, healthcare in between. Physics, art, and math got us down this path. Historical tales come alive, where science and stories dive. Blended facts with heart, knowledge from the start. Need bricks blues we sing to the future memory. Health and science in the mix. Need bricks got the fix. Complex subjects made clear. Every episode with cheer. Ramona leads the way, explaining day by day. In the world of digital streams, turning knowledge into dreams. Through the tales of old, new stories unfold.
MedBits Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming.
Hey, welcome to the MedBits Webcast. This is Ramana Annamaraju. Be patient with me today. This building, I'm going to tell you later on, and we became such a skeptical about this technology. Technology people have this authority on us. They have unchecked powers on this. They just disconnected. Somebody, I don't know who disconnected from me from my internet. It's been there working all day. This happened like every time I start this thing, something some I don't know who does that, but we got to find out. This is a really serious problem. I got to find out they're going to do forensic exam and who is doing this, who has this access to powers of unchecked powers of the technology we have. It's good for you. It's good. It's great, that I can communicate with all of you. But same time, we are also hostage to all these people. That's one thing we need to solve this problem through legal situation, through legal process. We have to do that. That's why I tell the room, Mr. Rokana, our congressman, to do something, some checks and balances on these people. Otherwise, there's nothing they can do anything you want in the digital world. But anyway, so sorry for my frustration because just about to start in and it disconnected. I'm back now. So anyway, but let me get into the good mood. I have the doctor. The doctor is supposed to come. Verena Brown. She had an unexpected something came up, and then I have a wonderful guest now. Her name is Cristina Spataro. Cristina Spataro is from Bronx, New York. She's a psychotherapist. After that, I'm going to present a topic. It's a very exciting. All these years, women were underestimated in science, particularly, science people is supposed to be open-minded and all these things. But in fact, if you look at the history, the women were discriminated in science. Their contributions were completely ignored. So this is a really sad situation there in the contributions by the woman who did that. So I'm going to present a topic on a woman who made an extraordinary contributions in the mathematics and science. Okay, and then I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to present that. Before that, I'm going to bring Cristina Spataro to the main stage, and let me bring her. She is a good friend of mine, and let me bring her. to the main stage. Christina. Yeah, Christina.
Hey, Ramana. How
How
you
are you?
doing?
Good,
I'm
good, good.
happy to be here. I
Thank you
hope
for
you're.
thank you for
Yeah.
joining. All the technical, these are mental health. We need a really counselor for these technical
Oh,
difficulties.
I feel you. I've had my own technical issues and stuff, but I still got to tell anyone who listen. I am very grateful that we have the ability to speak virtually and to connect from all over. I mean, I'm over here and you're all the way in California. So I appreciate the technology enough that even when things get messed up, I still am glad that we have this opportunity.
Yeah, that's yeah, yeah. That is a way. That is a therapist say that. That's exact way the therapist can say that. No frustrations at all.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you.
Mhm.
What is your background? Your mother is a. I remember you were telling me your mother is a scientist. Tell me your background a little bit, Christina.
So, my late mother was a scientist. She had degrees in chemistry and biology and taught physics, and she just gave me a love of science from a very young age. And she used to say that just explore the world and
Yeah,
keep asking questions and never be afraid to
yeah.
ask questions. Because
So
some of the
let
most,
me. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead. Tell me your background a little bit more, and I'm going to this one. Just a minute.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay. You got
basically,
to
let
move to
me
the little bit.
shift. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
how's that? Okay,
Okay.
there
Good.
we
Good.
go. So yeah, she just always taught me to ask questions and to be curious. And then when it was time for me to decide what I wanted to do, the questions that I had at the time were just about the mind,
Can
why
you
we
bring a
do
little
what
bit
we
camera
do.
down? Camera, you need to go
Okay.
up. Ah, that is a better.
Okay, let's see. I'm
Yeah.
gonna. Okay, I
That
got
is
this
good.
sucker.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
I'm
much
a technician and a scientist.
scientist. You have to be. You have to be nowadays.
I'm
Okay.
juggling. Yeah, so again, when it was time for me to decide what I wanted to do, I loved the sciences, but I was particularly drawn to the mind and why we do what we do. You know, human beings, our these brains of ours are both a blessing and a curse because we can use our magnificent brains to do amazing and wonderful things, and we also use them to torture ourselves and others needlessly. So I wanted to enter a field where I could help people not hurt themselves and to truly live up to what they wanted and needed in this life.
We have tell me that you became a licensed therapist, right now.
Hmm.
You are licensed.
Yes.
So, what kind of a patients you have in general? Just a mix of patients. If you can give us a little bit rundown. You practice in Bronx, New York, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I practice amongst and actually, since I'm working virtually, I see people throughout the whole state of New York
Okay.
because that's the beauty of virtual.
That's right.
You don't have to come to me like in the back in the day. I used to be in an office. People had to come to me, but now I can plug in anywhere. My because I started out actually working with children and adolescents, and then my licensure covered adults as well. So pretty much was 50-50 adults and kids. Now, since the pandemic, mostly adults. Adults dealing with, all various forms of depression, anxiety, some PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, where you've kind of been through traumas, working your way through that. Also, just people dealing with difficult life transitions and relationship issues. I also do relationship counseling and coaching. I do a lot of couples coaching and counseling as well.
So, Christina, let us talk about a little bit about the kind of a patient mix you have. What kind
Mhm.
of patients you get in general? Are they go through children or youth, or what kind of age that they get
Um,
in?
like I said, it's a mix. I still have some kids and I still have some adolescents, but the majority of my clients right now are adults. And I'm working specifically with a subset of people with relationship issues and trying to have better communication in their relationships.
Then now let us talk about that little. You do a little bit of immigrants. A lot of immigrant population is your clients, right?
Yes, I
So,
do. I also work with the immigrant population. I work with people who have seeked asylum here because, as you know, New York If
These are
you're
the,
It's
yeah.
a huge melting pot, and then a lot of times people, when they come here, it's where a lot of the services and stuff are. So, yes, I do also have worked with people who've immigrated here from other places, come here as refugees. So, just a very mixed bag.
I don't know much about tell us a little bit. You treat like a ADHD or the
Yes.
PTSD, all those things, right? I
Yes.
people say I have some ADHD. What is that? Tell us a little bit about it. What I have.
So, ADHD stands for attention deficit disorder. And like the name implies, it's people who have a hard time focusing and concentrating and also organizing things in their lives. It's in a very simplified way of putting it. They say it's both a disorder of executive functioning
Yeah,
as well as decreased dopamine levels. Now, what that means is how I describe it to my clients. You have a company, you have like a CEO who's like in charge of everything and tells like the different departments what to do and when to do it. Well, with someone with ADHD, your CEO's taking a nap in the office. So you have all these wonderful creative departments who don't actually have a full plan of how to get stuff done.
yes. That is that's a, such a I was listening to the Venki Ramakrishnan, Nobel laureate. He was Nobel laureate in chemistry. He was discovered ribosome structure. He was telling
Mhm.
that the whole brain works like a major city. All the
Mhm.
drainage and all the
Oh yeah.
water supplies and the entire brain. You can relate to the entire the choreography of the services provided by the cities. That is a very interesting analogy that I thought. So that you're giving a simple analogy that our executive function is basically a coordination of dance of all together.
Yes, absolutely. And we don't think about it because people who don't have ADHD, you're kind of just doing this stuff automatically. So for someone with ADHD, it takes more effort to organize things, to remember things, to have the motivation to do stuff because we don't think about just how much is done by our frontal lobe, our executive functioning.
Christina, I know you, Christina, for a long time. I wanted to ask you, what is a psychodynamic therapy that you do? That is, what is a psychodynamic therapy? Explain. You take the current problems and solve it. That is the most
Mhm.
important, the first step, right? Explain a
Yes.
little bit about that.
So I actually do a combination of cognitive behavioral therapy, psychodynamic, and solution focused therapy. What that means in a nutshell, I will talk to the clients and we will talk about how maybe their past experiences are influencing what's going on right now, but we don't dwell on that totally. We
Yeah,
also look at what are their current goals, what
yeah,
do they want? What are their current problems? And together we come up with solutions through a series of questions that get at the heart of what they really want and how to get there.
yeah. So that is a big. Some people. I came from even though I came from a poor family.
Mhm.
My father is a teacher, but respected family. We are middle class in Indian standards.
Mhm.
But we are well secured, and my childhood days is
Mhm.
wonderful. My
Mhm.
father and mother, and
Mhm.
but a lot of children, some children go through tremendous abuse and tremendous kind of a
Oh yes,
mental, physical,
absolutely.
all kind of emotional abuse they go through. What
Mhm.
is their what manifests at the end for them? What is
Well, the sad thing is, and they've done the studies on this, that actually, if you've been through any kind of abuse or trauma in childhood, it really does impact every facet of your life
yeah,
for the rest of your life. And it's sort of like if you break your leg and it will heal, but the bone may not be as strong as before you broke it.
yeah,
So it's like that, when you've been entrusted to people who are supposed to take care of you and they didn't, and you were this very vulnerable child,
yeah,
something in you is hurt. And definitely through therapy, through counseling, we help you heal from that. But there will always be a scar there from what you've been through, and there'll be trust issues, There'll be, fear of certain things. And it's a process of getting to a place where you can both accept that was really messed up and what I went through, but I can get through it and I will get through it and I will get to a better place. It also is undoing a lot of bad messaging because a lot of times when you have been abused as a child, there is a lot of programming and messaging that you received that maybe you weren't good enough or you're not lovable or you don't deserve things and just all that horrendous
Yeah.
psychological damage. So it's about rebuilding your psyche so you could really believe and feel in your heart, you know what? That was a terrible thing that was done to me, but I do deserve better and I do deserve love and I do deserve and I'm capable of having a good life. And there are people I can trust that not everybody's going to hurt me like that.
But that is also, there is other side of the coin is there, right? They become a themselves a perpetrator.
Mhm.
They do exactly to other people same thing what they went through. That's
Mhm.
a danger to that kind of a people who gone through that serious problem, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, if people have been abused, there is a chance they themselves could copy what was done to them, but this is where therapy comes in, where you work through that. You work through the anger, you work through those feelings so you can come to a healthier place with it.
It is a sad in all the way. That is not a good
Yeah.
place to be in.
No.
Even though what they are, certain times I come across those people, I feel sorry for them. I feel,
Mhm.
sympathetic, but but they are doing the same thing. I don't know. How can you solve this problem? Is a vicious problem. So it's
It
actually childhood is a very important, as you know. It
Mhm.
is extremely, now we are learning more and more how impactful the childhood days are. Even though I came from a very, you know, not a rich family, middle class family, just my father is a teacher,
Mhm.
but we have all the things and good things are there around us and
Mhm.
a very family life and all my brothers and sisters, we all grown up very well.
Mhm.
I don't know how the experience of those people that really go through this tremendous abuse is very,
Well, I have to admit before I started working in the field, I was blessed to know that I was loved.
yeah,
And I truly didn't full I appreciated it, but I didn't fully appreciate how lucky I was to know that
yeah,
when I worked with so many kids who didn't feel that, and it broke my heart each and every time. I just wanted to just take them and hold them. I remember one kid I was working with, I mean, it's just the stories, the kids, I see all their faces,
yeah,
and the things they have said to me.
yeah,
Like one time I was working with a kid and just they really responded and they were like, they just have somebody tell them they're worth something and that cares about them means so much. And even though as a therapist, I've had the honor and the privilege
yeah,
of being able to give them that comfort and that caring when they needed it. There have been other heroes in their lives too, real heroes who stepped in and filled roles that parents couldn't fill, like
yeah,
teachers and maybe another relative or friend of the family. Again, I was felt very lucky that I'm grateful that I had clients that trusted me with their pain and let me help them. But I also know they were incredibly honored to have other people step in when they needed it. And if anyone's watching this and you know a child who's being abused, there was a time where this was kept secret, people didn't talk about it, and there is more awareness now, which I'm glad for, but still more awareness has to happen. So if you know of a child who is not getting the love that they need, even if it's physical, whether it's physical abuse or emotional abuse, be that voice, be that comfort for that child
important.
if you can.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I agree. This is a really sad situation in that sense. I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you about the CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Can
Hmm.
you explain what that is exactly? What involves that one?
So, cognitive behavioral therapy, it's the idea that our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions are all interconnected. So that if we're thinking a certain way and we change that thought, it can impact how we feel about ourselves, about the world, and it impacts what we do. So, for instance, when I'm working with a client who's dealing with depression or anxiety, their thinking is getting them stuck in a loop. So,
Yeah.
for instance, if we're dealing with depression, they're thinking very negatively about themselves, that they can't do anything. So, then that's going to make them feel bad, and that's going to lead them not to do anything because they think they can't. But if you change anything, like if you change the thought, but wait a minute, this actually worked out when I did this. So maybe I can do this. And then that makes you feel good and that makes you do things. Or the idea if you change an action, the idea of behavioral activation. If I actually am in the process of doing something good for myself, that will make me feel good and think good things. So it's kind of just how the three are interconnected and helping the client to change one to change the others.
So there is a lot of, I come across a lot of life coaches. What the
Mhm.
life coaches do? What is the difference between the health psychotherapist and a life coach? And just give me, are you a life coach?
So I am both. I am a licensed psychotherapist, but I also do life coaching. It's interesting because when I originally got my degree in psychology, and I was licensed by the state of New York as a psychotherapist, as a licensed mental health counselor. And so then I started hearing myself about a lot of life coaching and stuff. So I went to find out the difference for myself, and I actually got trained to become a certified professional coach. So here's how I see the difference. As a licensed mental health counselor, I have been trained in different diagnoses. I help people who have actual psychological diagnoses and come up with specific treatment plans that deal directly with what they're going through.
Yeah.
Now, I am a trained therapist. I am a licensed therapist. A life coach is not a licensed therapist. So, for a life coach, they can't diagnose. And if somebody has an actual psychological issue like depression, anxiety, PTSD, or even ADHD, you can't approach them from a therapeutic point of view because you're not a therapist. So, what a life coach does is they used some of the actual CBT techniques that I use. It's actually very similar to what a life coach does, but they're not a licensed therapist, so they have to be careful with that.
Yeah.
And basically, they are helping clients achieve goals that
Yeah.
they have, but they're doing it in a way where they're not touching the more serious psychological stuff. That's for the therapist, but they will help you work with goals and things like that.
Yeah.
Now,
Absolutely.
it is a fine line.
It's a
It's
fine line.
really a fine line. I remember when I was getting my coaching certificate, I almost had to chuckle because the teacher went through great lengths to say, remember, you're not therapists, so you can't call yourself a therapist. But technically, I am a therapist, so I can.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can call myself a therapist because I am one. But I do make it clear with my clients when we're doing coaching and when we're doing therapy, and depending on what they need, I structure it accordingly.
Okay. Now let me the other thing I wanted to ask you is, does it make any difference of man or woman in these psychological pressures? Are there any difference between the men and women?
I mean, obviously, we're different. If you're going to have some differences based on experience and on biological stuff, but in terms of trauma is going to hit you, the anxiety is going to hit you,
Yeah.
male, female. Now, one difference I have seen now, I see more men willing to get help. Traditionally, women mainly went and men were taught to, like, in long years ago, men were taught, suck up those feelings. Don't, be a man kind of thing. And they were taught it was almost something shameful to have depression and stuff. So, one of the things I am glad to see is as we've had more mental health awareness, we've had more men coming forward and acknowledging that they're hurting too and they need help. So, I think that's probably one of the biggest differences I've seen. And that makes me really happy to see that.
I'm going to present a topic on a woman that is really went through that kind of a process. Probably she went through a deep depression, in fact, possibly, but we don't know because it's a 17th and 18th century woman. I'm
Mhm.
going to present a topic on a woman. She did extraordinary contributions for the medicine and
Mhm.
science, sorry,
Mhm.
science and physics and mathematics. And she was completely ignored because she was very sexual desires, or because she expressed it overly outside during those times, it is like a big taboo. And then she was all her contributions were ignored. I'm going to present a topic.
Mhm.
I'm going to put you in a little bit of a, if you don't mind, Christine, something is making that there is a wind coming up. I think this your side. Yeah, that's now. I'm gonna put in the mute in case if you need it. But
Okay.
yeah. So, but anyway, I'm going to present a topic on this extraordinary woman that you meet. Her name is. She was called. She was called. She was. You need to put a mute. I think. Did you put the mute? Yeah. Okay, now I can hear. So this is an extraordinary woman story. This is about she was called a mistress. She was called a promiscuous. She was a loose character gambler. She's a professional gambler. All kind of names they called her. I tell you her name in a minute. In the 17th century, they called her every name. They used even the word slut. Probably is not exist, but it did come out for her. Her name is, I tell you, very interesting about her. Her name is Emily Gabriella Emily de Châtelet. She was born in France in 1706. She was a Gabriella. She was born in the Enlightenment period between 17th century and the 18th century. The late 17th century and the 18th century, there are a lot of people in the uh, yeah, just a minute. A lot of people on the Enlightenment period. That's what is Enlightenment period is that what is it called, religion over that is superstition, is a reason over still superstition, and the that the tolerance over hate, and then science over belief. That is the Enlightenment period. Is a change. Humanity is completely changed from previous thinking to the different thinking during this Enlightenment period. There are a lot of people: Isaac Newton, Leibniz, and then Immanuel Kant, and then Baruch Spinoza, and then Kepler. All these scientists are all lined up. These are all Adam Smith, who orchestrated the economy, father of economy, and then Baruch Spinoza is a philosopher. Immanuel Kant is one of the leading philosophers, and then Immanuel Kant, and then is also mathematician, and then Baruch Spinoza, and then Isaac Einstein, sorry, not Albert Einstein, sorry, yeah, Isaac Newton was the main guy, one of the leading figures in this physics and science. He gave extraordinary equations and all those things, how the physical world works. So these are the during this time she was born. Her name is Gabriella de Châtelet, Emily de Châtelet, her name. She was born in a very rich family. She was a wealthy woman. So what happened was to her, she was I think yeah, she was with all she the when she was growing up, she loved mathematics. She loved calculus. Was just when she was born, Newton was alive. Newton is still alive when she was born. So calculus was very tough. Even those days, even now, it's tough for a lot of people who go through a rough time with the calculus. But those times, so she is one of the few people who understood calculus. Calculus was one of the few women who understood calculus very well. She really mastered the calculus. during the process. And then she learned science from a top people. Her father is a very rich man, so very wealthy family, noble family. So she got all the private tutors and all those things. Her brother was actually, her father wanted to promote her brother, but her brother turned out to be dumb. So she turned out to be, she became smartest in the family there. So Gabriella, then what happened? She has a very outgoing woman. When she was in teenage years, she started going out. She got married, and then she was, in France. I didn't know that in France you can have multiple guys, and then you can marry a husband. You can have a boyfriend. They can live with them. Menage a trois, they call. So she was doing that actually. She was a multiple boyfriend she has. She was a kind of sex addict in that sense. And then she has a gambling. She has a big addiction for gambling. She's a prolific gambler, but she used to win a lot of things. She used to win. That's what they used to say. She used to win a lot of things. So she was a gambler. So every sense looks bad, right? But listen to me. At that time, during the 17th, the 18th century, the thinking of that very traditional thinking was the matter has a thinking power. It is a thinking matter. Matter has all the stones have a thinking power. They used to think. The spontaneous regeneration of life. Life comes out of inorganic stuff. These are the strange beliefs in the 17th and 18th century. And then all these beliefs, they have very strange beliefs that she took it, and she was not buying it. She was born during that time. See that? So it will tell you what she was doing that. So let me, if you don't mind, just I wanted to let me get the a little bit of a closer to me. I can see a little bit of yeah. Okay, that's one thing I'm learning about these things. Okay, now the scientific. She learned, men only. She used to go to the men only meetings. That men only meetings. She used to go, and she has a dress in her purse or something. She has a men's dress, and then she used to put there, and then go to the cash into the men's scientific meetings. So a lot of people, they know that she is a woman dressing like a man, but they didn't comply because most of the is probably she was sleeping with half of the guys up there. So she was an interesting woman in that sense. But what she did was, during that time there was a prevailing understanding, even including the Newton, the energy of the moving, in very infancy stage, the energy of the moving bodies are evolving. All the equations are evolving. Energy of the moving bodies are very fresh, really. So people are discussing what are the moving. If you throw a rock, what is the energy? Where is that energy came from? So they used to think that they have a living force. There is a vis viva, they call, is a living force. That's a Latin word, vis viva. It is a living force. It has a living force inside, and then that was there. Oh yeah, Namrata joined in. I will bring her Namrata in a minute. So then vis viva is a living force. They used to think of matter as a living context. The living is there, that it has some kind of a force inside. So, but it's proportional to the living force, the kinetic energy, the energy that if you take a car and you throw somebody on his face, then you throw a stone and it hits them, right? The energy that brings there to stop that rock, that is energy was measured. They used to think is proportional to the speed. It is the energy is proportional to the speed. That was a prevailing thinking. This is a big, important, very important one. Kinetic energy is very energy and moving bodies or the important relationship. Because if you hit a car hits somebody, what kind of impact they have, what kind of damage it does. So that kind of studies they were doing in the 17th, beginning of 18th century. So you need a really good understanding of the energy of the moving bodies. So even the Newton, a lot of people were thinking it is a proportional to the velocity. That the velocity means speed. This, if you have if an object velocity doubles. So an object, you throw an object. So for example, it has some kind of impact is there. If you increase the speed of the object, They say the impact is double. The impact is twice as the much. That's what the prevailing wage was, prevailing thinking was, but which is not true. This woman said that that is absolutely she was that was a prevailing thing. If you are if you are 5 kilometers, if you are going a car, and then impact energy is kinetic energy is X, then if you go increase the speed to 10 kilometers per hour, this is the energy is going to be 2x. That's what the thinking was. That's absolutely wrong. I should tell you who did that, who found out that was wrong. So, so she was, this is a woman, she was done with all these arguments. Guys are all philosophers and physicists are all arguing about is the kinetic energy is proportional to the speed or not. He said that I'm done with arguments. I'm going to build a mansion. She was a chateau. She built outside of Paris, and a beautiful chateau. She bought it, and then this woman is a love of science. Is unbelievable. She imported every book. Then she created the biggest library, and then she has the money, right? She's a wealthy family. She said that her library is almost comparable to the Paris University of Paris library. You know, she mastered it, and then she imported equipment from London, and then started doing throw rocks, actually the big balls, the steel balls, and then they throw in the sand with a speed, a particular speed. And then she concluded that she did the experiment, and then she has a very good understanding she has a lot of common sense. She said that it is not a 2x. In fact, it's not the double. When you go with a 20 speed, 30 kilometers per hour, the impact energy is x. If you increase the speed to twice, it is not a 2x. It is a squared, 4x, 4 times the impact energy is. It's a squared. That is what she came up with it. It is an amazing, intuitive, very powerful thing. If you are going in a 5 kilometers, I gave you a small calculation here. 22 joules of kinetic energy, it is 22 joules. That's what they call. If you increase the speed to 10 kilometers per hour, it is not a 44 joules per second, not 44 joules kinetic energy. It is 110. It is a square. That is the problem. The speed squared. That's what they found out. She was really sealed even the Newton doesn't know. Yes. So she challenged the Newton. Newton prevailing thinking was kinetic energy is proportional to the speed. She challenged one of the dominant figures in the industry, in the science. Newton was challenged by her. A woman from a teenage woman challenging the Newton is like unheard of in those days. So she challenged it, and then really she's right. She was she was 20 years old. The Newton probably died around that time when she was 20 years old. But she challenged it. That was a shock for a lot of scientists. They were mad at her for a while. I tell you about that, what they did. So she was that we were force is a v squared. The kinetic energy is proportional to squared. That is a speed squared. It is so the impact energy every time you go twice the speed. Remember, the impact energy is going to be anything crash is going to be squared impact. It's much more higher. Every time you increase double the speed, you're going a squared. The energy is going to be extremely exponentially increasing. So that's what she found out. Emily de Châtelet found out that one of she gave the idea to Newton, and she also gave idea to Einstein. Albert Einstein got these ideas about that squared using E equal to mc squared. Used that idea from here. Emily de Châtelet she was the fundamental, made an enormous contribution to finding out the kinetic energy of the square of the velocity. She did that. She was one of the things that, so that she was then, where you use in medical medicine. I can tell you brachytherapy, that, for example, if you want to put a radium on that one, you need to know how far where the intensity, how far the particles travel, and you don't want to go too far to damage the healthy skin. So you can tell how the speed, how the energy dissipates. Same thing with all the ultrasound, for example. If you put ultrasound, if you increase the distance between the ultrasound and the skin, it is immediately the resolution falls big time. So that's why it is a very important, this inverse square law. This V squared is a very, she made an enormous contribution directly to the entire world of physics. So after that, she was she, I think I moved her. Oh yeah. Then she was she was I can't read. I don't know how do I take this thing that maximize. Maybe I can maximize a little bit. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So she was a then she challenged Newton. I'm going to bring it back again. So 1 second. I'm going to uh, okay. So she challenged Newton. Newton, she said that he was explaining about how the gravity exists. She challenged Newton. She said that gravity is nonsense. What he is talking about, there is not enough reason. Principle of sufficient reason means you need to give me the cause. Why even in the gravity exists in the first place? Newton struggled with that answer. Actually, he himself had a problems about that, defining why the gravity exists. He understood the equations, he gave a gravity equations, but he understood the physical bodies, how they move, everything is working well, but he could not give. She said that that's not enough. That's a baloney. So that you need to give me the reasons why gravity exists in the first place. She used the principle of sufficient reason philosophy. It's a wonderful philosopher. That was solved after 200 years. It took almost 200 years. Where is it? I don't know where I cannot see the. I hope I can. Oh, yeah. Where is this? Oh, God. Yeah, I can't see this. Okay, maybe I have to do this. Oh, no. What I'm doing. Okay, let me do this. Okay. So that is the principle of sufficient reason. Why I can't see? Yeah, it's not. It's giving hard time. I cannot see that. I can move here. Okay, but anyway, I'm going to move this one. Sorry that. So she challenged even Newton. So Albert Einstein, after 200 years, she took for design space. The reason gravity exists because of the bending of a space time. In fact, she challenged Newton and gave ideas to Albert Einstein indirectly. So Albert Einstein came up with the idea of the space-time curvature. When the heavy bodies bend the space-time, that's why we move around. In the malls that you put a penny there, it moves around. That's what the earth moves around this and around the sun, because the gravity bends the space-time in that groove. The earth moves around. That is what the real explanation was. That is the principle of sufficient reason, in fact. So he could not even, he had a hard time understanding these things. She was a prolific scientific, she was supporting of vaccines during those times. Smallpox is big. She was her boyfriend, Voltaire, is one of the famous philosophers and a mathematician. She was supporting the vaccination during that time, in the beginning days of vaccination. And then she wrote a book to, everybody was mad. She was criticizing Newton. And then one academician, like a chief of scientific policy in the University of France, came after her. So to encounter the guy, she wrote a book, actual book, the entire book she wrote to put him down. So that is the I'm kind of trying to do that. And you see, this is the biggest problem I have is, yeah, I can see now. So the third one is she did the dissertation for the first German newspaper, German publication. She did the fire propagation. She did publish first woman. Okay, she's the first woman. She wrote, to be happy, one must have freed oneself of prejudice and must be virtuous, healthy, love, have a taste and passions, and be susceptible to illusions. She likes very interesting idea woman she is. She was saying that very interesting way. You need your passions. Illusion is that she was talking about passion. These are certain things are undescribable by the logic and reason. She believes that happiness is a limited. Then she also very feminist. She was saying that happiness is limited to women because of the constraint they put on the society by them, by the society. She was a very very big in that sense. I'm just so how she was. So she was an excellent mother. She is a loving mother. She has a children. She was two children, and then she was two or three children somewhere there. That she took a biggest thing. She was teaching her children mathematics. She wrote actually a book, her own mathematical books for to teach children because they said that she said that the books are now you're not teaching mathematics right way. She's that kind of woman. She wrote her own book to teach her children. But her she was she took up one of the biggest ventures of all her lifetime. She took, even though she criticized Newton, she admired him. She took the Principia of Principia, the law, Newton's laws of principles. She took the English textbook and translated it into the French. Even today, that is a textbook, standard textbook in France. Emily du Châtelet translated the first textbook from English to French. Even today, there's a standard book. That is, she did that. So she's one of the modern women, but she's also has some other problem. She was a kind of a but sex is she's a sexual in that sense. She got pregnant not by her husband, some random guy, some soldier. She got pregnant at the age of 40. During that time, 18th century, during the time, if you get a pregnancy, that's a death sentence. No production, there's a death sentence. Basically, she in fact, that's what happened to her, extraordinary woman of science. So she gave a birth, died with the embolism, and then she wrote the last chapter of the Newton's Principia, and then slumped over the desk and died. And she knows that she's going to die. She died at the age of 42. She was a pulmonary embolism, and then she gave actually both children. Child also died after she died first, and then child also died. Unfortunately, that is the tragic story of Gabriela Emily du Châtelet. One of the most, we have to remember people. This is the really a jealous took out her away from her all the things. They, because of her sexual needs, they took everything what she contributed to the mathematics and physics. They contributed everything they took it away, and then wiped her out from the history books. A lot of women don't know how great she was. So Emily du Châtelet stands tall in all of them right now. So she, unfortunately, so actually, Judith Genser, there is the professor Judith Genser from University of Miami wrote a book on her, the Enlightenment, Emily du Châtelet, the Genius of Enlightenment. That's a book she wrote. And then there was a play actually from my hometown, Atlanta. Lauren Gunderson did a play, a Broadway play, A Genius of Enlightenment, that is about the Gabriela Emily du Châtelet. Emily du Châtelet was played one of the award-winning Broadway play. In fact, if we come to your area, see it. So it's one of the most admired women, and then she's coming slowly. People are recognizing her. We should not think about because of the sex she was wiped out from the history, but we should recognize her for science and who gave contributions to the mathematics squared gave ideas to both Einstein and Newton. She stands tall in between them. She's one of the extraordinary women, unwavering passion for a woman of science she is, and we have to really pay tribute, and we have to bring her back to the contribution she made. Thank you for watching. You can buy her T-shirt. I do that, and I thank you for watching so much. This is the you know. So I always get emotional when the last pages she was writing the Principia of Mathematics, a Principia translation, last chapter. She finished and died. You know, that is a wish, and it is really sad in that sense. But anyway, you can buy that T-shirt from my store. I have a store, Amazon and Etsy. You can buy that store if you have time. You can take that picture of that one, and then you can buy it. Okay. So thank you for watching. Let me bring I have a two guests now. I'm going to bring I'm going to bring let me bring my guests, all of them. Let me. Your light is gone. And Namrata is also. Namrata, come back on camera. I don't see you on camera. Namrata.
Yeah, she put in the message thing. Hi.
Hi, Namrata. How are you? I have three people. You remember Cristina, right? You met her long last time, right,
Oh,
Namrata?
that's right. We did ages ago. So good to see you again. How are you?
After a long time, right? So I call it
Yeah.
Namrata as a tech chick.
Nice reunion. Oh my
Yeah.
How,
gosh.
how have you been, Christina? It was good to hear you today.
Oh, thank you. I've been well. I'm trying to think when did we last meet?
That
I know
before
it's been a
pandemic. That is the
while.
before pandemic.
It was
Yeah.
2018 or something. It
Yeah,
was long ago.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Pre-pandemic meeting? My
Yes.
I think the
gosh.
pre-pandemic. Yeah, I don't remember that
Yes.
well. Let me ask you, Namrata. I heard that you're a movie producer now, and
Yes.
you have produced a movie.
Really? A movie
Yeah, tell us a little bit
producer.
about that. What you're
Wow.
doing. She's a creative. I tell you, I want to tell the people. Namrata is one of the best, very creative artists. She's a technology.
Really?
I make her fun of the
Wow.
textbook, but she's a technology guru. She understands technology. Her husband is a CEO of a major company, was a major technology company. So the Namrata is very good in really creative ideas. She comes with all the artists have that power, right?
Wow.
So Namrata, tell us a little bit.
Thank you.
What is your
Thank you,
journey up
Ramana.
to now?
So,
What is your
so
Yeah? Go
sorry.
ahead.
So, I think one of my first few conversations with Ramana was an argument, actually.
Yeah, yeah,
Wasn't it, Ramana?
yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So I got introduced to him at that time. I was very actively involved in color therapy, and Ramana started with saying, "Oh no, colors don't work."
I changed my mind
and
anyway.
and from there we have come to today. It's been a beautiful journey. But yes, I am into film production now. We are doing a lot of film production in Hollywood. We have an office in LA and we have one in Atlanta as well. We have done so two films are already on Amazon Prime. One film is releasing now in January. Another film will release around March or April. So we're doing the festival rounds right now, and two more films in the making. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
Besides
yeah.
that, I have a tech company in India where we do technical visualization for films.
So
So
you
we
do
do
still that the animation and all those things, technical
yes,
visualization.
yes. So
Yeah.
the tech viz is all about visualizing, pre-visualizing all the technicalities and the technical knowledge
All right.
with the cameras and all of
I'm
that.
so sorry about that, guys. I'd lost my connection there for a bit. I apologize. I am back.
Well, we don't see your light. There is no light on you. I think something is missing there, Christina.
Yes, let's
Anyway,
try to put some light.
yeah.
Okay, let there be light. Can you
Yes.
see me? All right. Sorry
Did you
about
hear
Much
that.
better
It's
now.
an extraordinary woman, two women,
So,
one in the science and therapist. She is a therapist, and other one is a really technology people. You cannot do better than this kind of podcast.
well,
So
I would I'm just so happy to be sharing the podcast with you, and I would actually love to reconnect after the podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, we must. We must
We
connect.
must. We
I want
Yes.
to ask
must.
you, have you seen the story that I presented? Have you, both of you watched it? It's a story of Emily Gabriela de
Yes.
Châtelet.
Yes.
What do you
Yes.
Yes,
think? What do
yes,
you
we
think
were
of her?
I
watching.
have actually. I think I have seen the Broadway play as well of
Oh, you
Emily
did? Oh,
Deschanel.
wow.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was a Broadway play
Quite
actually.
interesting. Yes. Yes.
I
So
mean,
you,
it was a fascinating story. The way you presented it and everything, honestly, a lot of things I didn't know. So I always like learning new things. I appreciate that.
Yes.
yeah, importance to that history forgotten science people and
Mhm.
mathematics. I want to bring it
Mhm.
to the front pages again. That's the podcast and new technology allows you to do
Exactly.
telling everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
anything final things you want to say, Namrata? I want to see. I'm so glad to see you're back in States. Now you're going back and forth India and the United States. So
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
glad that you're back. We can meet in Atlanta. Still my son lives in Atlanta.
Yes.
So
Christina, where in the US are you based?
So I am based in New York. Actually, right now I'm in Connecticut.
Ah,
So
okay.
I'm going between New York and Connecticut in the United States. And where are
Ah,
you right
nice.
now? Are you in India right
My
now? Where are you?
let me
no,
one second, all
I'm
of
in
you.
North Carolina.
Stay there as you are, and I'm going to end the broadcast with the
Oh,
title. Then you come back and talk. We can all talk together. Okay?
Okay.
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 Thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank you for listening. Yeah, just a minute. Give me that 1 second. I'm going to play a small video. After that, stay on the line, and
Yes.
we all can
Okay.
do that in there. Okay.
Telling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it